Wake up, champion. Stop extinguishing your soul's flame. Hey there, warriors of the Ironforged Mindset channel. Do you ever have that persistent, silent feeling that you're wasting your life? No matter how hard you try to keep yourself busy, surrounded by people, goals, obligations, deep down, it feels like something essential is missing, as if you're merely existing, not truly living. Perhaps you've tried to explain this as anxiety. Maybe a doctor has called it depression, and perhaps they prescribed something to silence that discomfort. A pill in the morning, another at night, and time goes by, numbing what you should be urgently listening to. But what if I told you that this suffering is not a mistake? What if I told you that it is not something to be suppressed, but rather a calling? Our inner being believes that what we call mental disorder is often not a pathology. It's an attempt by the psyche to heal itself, a warning that your life as it is does not serve your soul. You may be living a routine that was imposed on you, a job that consumes you, relationships that drain your energy, dreams that aren't even yours. Meanwhile, your essence screams for freedom, but no one taught you to listen to that scream. On the contrary, they taught you to silence it, to function, to adapt, to not disturb. And so you become ill in silence, while the world applauds your productivity, your mind, a lie detector and truth seeker. The process of healing doesn't come from denial, but from diving in. It's not about masking the symptoms, but understanding what they are trying to say. Because neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. In other words, you are sick because you are running away from the pain you need to feel to transform your life. As long as you keep running, you will keep suffering. This video is not for those who want distraction. It's for those who are tired of pretending, for those who feel they are sinking, but still hold a spark of hope that there is a way. And there is. But it starts with a brutal decision to stop running and start listening. Listen to yourself. Listen to the unconscious. Listen to the pain you tried to silence with medication, with addictions, with routines. If you have made it this far, you may have already realized that the emptiness you feel is not weakness. It's the absence of yourself in your own life, and it is time to change that. Functionality therapy versus soul therapy days, weeks, maybe months of sadness. You go to the doctor, who listens to you for 15 minutes, if he listens at all. You talk about insomnia, anxiety, the tightness in your chest that appears for no reason, about the constant feeling of being out of place, disconnected from your own existence. He nods, types a few words on the computer, and then comes the verdict. It's anxiety. Let's start with this medication. In a few days or weeks, your pain has been reduced to a chemical imbalance, and what was an existential cry becomes a number on a prescription label. What no one tells you is that this type of treatment is not interested in your soul. It is interested in your functionality. The logic is simple. You need to keep working, consuming, producing, keeping the gears of the system turning. The medication allows you to endure the unbearable, and that's why it is offered as a definitive solution. But this solution is a trap. Most modern discomforts do not arise from an internal failure of the brain, but from the disconnection between the life we lead and the life we should be living. When you ignore your vocation, your most authentic impulses, your inner truths, the soul begins to sicken. And since it has no literal voice, it speaks through the body and mind, anxiety, panic attacks, hopelessness. But instead of listening to it, we are trained to silence it, to neutralize any discomfort with chemicals, to return to normal as quickly as possible. But what is this normal? A job you hate but can't quit. Superficial relationships that serve to maintain appearances. Empty goals, mechanical routines, and a constant feeling that you are surviving instead of living. The anxiety you feel is not a failure. It is your soul telling you, this life is not yours. You are betraying me. And if you ignore this for too long, the body starts to scream louder. But the system is always ready with a new dose, a new label, a new sedative. And the more you adapt to this model, the further you distance yourself from yourself until you feel nothing anymore. Neither pain nor pleasure. Just this chronic numbness they call adult life. The illusion of healing and the call to awaken. When a symptom is medicated without understanding its root, it creates an illusion of healing. The person improves on the outside, but inside remains lost. In the long run, this division between what is felt and what is lived generates an even greater collapse, because there is no way to escape the soul forever. It will demand its price, whether in the form of burnout, emotional collapses, or through an emptiness that nothing, absolutely nothing, can fill. This mass medicalization is a reflection of something deeper, a culture that does not know how to deal with suffering, that fears pain because it has lost the sense of its transformative value. Suffering is necessary. It is the beginning of the journey, the call to individuation. But in modern society, any discomfort is labeled as pathological, and by fleeing from suffering, we also flee from the chance to become who we should be. Your path to an iron-forged mindset, true healing. The question remains, how many people are being silenced by treatments that merely camouflage the problem? How many lives are being wasted in the name of artificial stability? How many journeys have been interrupted before they even began? To start answering this, we need to look at what lies behind modern emotional collapse. And this leads us to the next point. The environment we live in, the cultural structures that shape our identity, and the lifestyle that is often the true illness. Because perhaps the problem was never you, but the world that taught you to hate yourself. You can achieve this. Small steps lead to big results. Subscribe to Ironforged Mindset, and let's embark on this incredible transformation together. The silent epidemic, a world without meaning. Stop and look around you. How many people do you know who seem to be merely existing, not living? How many follow an automatic routine marked by empty commitments, superficial distractions, and a fatigue that no amount of sleep can resolve? This type of suffering is not casual. It's structural. It's existential. Much of the psychological suffering of modern humans comes from a single brutal realization. Life has lost its meaning. We're not talking about meaning as a grand cosmic mission or an unattainable utopia. We're talking about personal purpose, about alignment between what one does and who one is, about living according to an internal truth and not under the external demands of a world that idolizes success but kills the soul. The deepest symptoms, anxiety, depression, apathy, anguish, often disappear when the individual begins to build a meaningful life, not when they take medication, not when they make money, but when they find a why. Because deep down, you can endure almost any pain if you know why you are living. But without that meaning, even the most intense pleasures become mundane. Even the most ambitious goals sound empty. And that is exactly what we are experiencing today. An epidemic of emptiness. People tired, not just from an excess of tasks, but from a lack of purpose. Lives full of commitments but poor in direction. Humans need to feel part of something greater than themselves. They need to feel that their existence has weight, consequence, and meaning. Without this, they collapse internally. Suffering turns into disorientation. The soul cries out for a path, but all the world offers are distractions. Likes, series, self-help promises, productivity techniques, miraculous courses, all trying to fill a void that can only be filled with truth. And the truth is that many are living a life they did not choose. They were pushed into paths that please others, but betray them internally. They chose professions that have no connection to their values. They maintain relationships that weaken them. They inhabit cities that suffocate them. They repeat routines that erase them day after day. And the body feels it. The mind collapses. The soul contracts. There is no remedy for the absence of meaning, because what is missing is not serotonin. It is direction. It is not dopamine. It is identity. This is where deep psychological insights become urgent. It's not about simply functioning. It's about living authentically. Having the courage to say, "This life is not mine, and I refuse to continue like this." But how to do that? How to start rebuilding meaning when everything around you seems designed to distract you from your essence? The answer lies in the reconnection with the unconscious, because it is there, in the forgotten parts of oneself, that the key to your purpose resides. Perhaps what you most avoid facing is exactly what you need to discover in order to finally live with meaning. The power of the unconscious. Your greatest ally. Most people want to heal, but almost no one is willing to pay the price of healing. Because, contrary to what common sense sells, true transformation does not begin with positive affirmations or the creation of new habits. It begins with a confrontation, a dive, a descent into the depths of one's own soul. There is no healing without contact with the unconscious. But what is this unconscious? It is not merely a repository of repressed memories or past traumas. It is an entire universe, vast, symbolic, that holds all the parts of us that have been forgotten, denied, abandoned. Our most authentic impulses, our deepest fears, our most painful truths. Everything you tried to ignore is there, waiting. And why does this matter? Because what you do not face in the unconscious begins to govern your life without you realizing it. What you do not bring to consciousness returns as fate. You think you have bad luck in love, but you unconsciously repeat the same patterns. You think you are sabotaged at work, but you unconsciously fear success. You think you are a victim of the world, but you are being controlled by old traumas that you have never confronted. The unconscious is like a dark mirror. It reflects exactly who you are, not who you would like to be. And that is why it is frightening, because it shows truths that hurt, because it reveals the facade of the masks you created to survive, because it demands that you abandon the fantasy of control and embrace the reality of your inner complexity. But here lies the paradox. It is precisely in this confrontation that healing resides. Because the more you deny the unconscious, the more it dominates you, the more reactive, impulsive, and fragmented you become. On the other hand, the more you integrate it, the more whole you become. This process is called the expansion of consciousness, and it only happens when you stop running away and start listening. How to do this? Through dreams, symbols, art, silence, meditation, analysis. The unconscious does not speak with logic. It speaks with images, with sensations, with emotions that seemingly arise from nowhere. But it is not nothing. It is you. It is the part of you that was locked away, waiting to be recognized. And when you begin to listen to this part, something changes. You start to see yourself more clearly, to understand your decisions, to embrace your wounds, and above all, to reclaim your power. Because as long as you do not know what inhabits you, you are a hostage of others, of the past, of expectations, of culture. But when you courageously dive into the unconscious, you begin to free yourself. You understand that the anxiety that paralyzes you is not an enemy. It is a message. That the sadness that visits you is not weakness. It is a sign that something needs to die for something new to be born. This process is demanding. It requires time, patience, depth. It requires you to abandon the comfort of the surface, but it is also the only path that leads to authenticity. And it is from this authenticity that you rebuild your life, no longer as a puppet of the unconscious, but as a conscious creator of your own destiny. The fierce choice, live or merely exist. Now that you understand the central role of the unconscious in your pain and transformation, one last question needs to be asked. What is preventing you from starting this journey? Why do so many people, even aware of all this, remain paralyzed, living on autopilot, repeating the same meaningless life? The answer lies in fear. In the fear of change, in the fear of loss, in the fear of abandoning everything that is familiar, even if it is destructive. There comes a moment when you need to make a choice, not just any choice, but the choice. The one that separates who you are from who you were conditioned to be. The one that defines whether you will continue living a borrowed, anesthetized, empty life, or if you will finally commit to the most serious promise anyone can make, the commitment to your own soul. If you have made it this far, it is not by chance. Something inside you is awakening. It may still be a whisper, or it may already be screaming, but it is there. And this call will not disappear, because it comes from the deepest, most honest, most alive part of who you are. The part that refuses to accept that life is just work, obligations, distractions, and survival. The part that knows, even without being able to explain, that there is something more. Something that is waiting for you. But it will only reveal itself if you have the courage to walk towards yourself. The greatest privilege of life is to become who you really are. But it is also the most avoided path, because it requires you to abandon everything that is comfortable, predictable, and superficial. It demands that you face deep fears, confront your shadows, question everything you were taught as truth. But that is precisely why this path is sacred. Because it transforms, because it truly heals. Most people will continue on autopilot. They will prefer numbness to clarity. They will keep accumulating possessions, distractions, likes, while inside they rot in silence. But you don't have to be another statistic. You can choose. Choose to stop wasting your existence. Choose to come out of anesthesia. Choose to build a life that makes sense, a life that is yours. I'm not saying it will be easy. It won't. It will hurt. It will confuse. It will require breakups. But it will also liberate. And there is nothing more powerful than an awakened soul. Because when you start living according to who you really are, you become unshakable. You stop asking for permission. You stop comparing yourself. You stop losing yourself trying to please those who will never understand you. So now I ask you, what do you need to let go of to start truly living? What is the lie you are still telling yourself? Comment below. It doesn't matter if it's a sentence, a confession, or a question. The simple act of writing is already a step out of numbness. It is already a gesture of presence, of choice, of awakening. And if this video moved you, if some part touched a wound or ignited a spark, then you need to watch the next video. Not because it is a continuation, but because it is important. Because if you have made it this far, it is because you are ready to go even deeper. And now, more than ever, it is time to continue.